Oh, that is Lily, because my comment just came through and I made that like a minute ago. Can you hear me now? Hello, welcome into PHOI Union Podcast. Hopefully we've got some audio. Otherwise, we were just testing you to see if you could read lips. And some of you guys seem like you passed and maybe some of you failed. All right, Drew, Babita, Jose, Eugene, welcome in. Nice to have you guys here on the show. We have a hot mic there, said. So yeah. Well, you got to hear from our producer, Julia, who was cussing and fussing because the audio decided to have some issues. So I love that. Julia, ironically, is on her first Union show. She does a great job here at PHOI Sports with all of our shows. And we brought her over to the Union. And clearly she fits right in with us, JP, because
I love it.
She came over here with a potty mouth and ready to get the potty started.
That's a real Philly girl. We love that. Let's go.
This is hilarious. She's turning so red.
We just had too much fun here, guys.
Listen, guys, we've got a great show for you today. If you can't tell by the way we started, it's only up from here. Great show lined up for you today because the soccer world's been buzzing. And I feel like I'm seeing so many updates, not even just from the Philadelphia Union with their recent signing and news, but also from the MLS, but also from the worldwide sports itself, where we're seeing a lot of updates. Messi versus Ronaldo. We're seeing CONCACAF Champions Cup. We're seeing FIFA. And there's some U.S. women's national team news that I have to share with you guys because it's been a wild, fun time in the soccer world. Yes, Eugene Krabs, Julia, is the Eagles producer as well. Eugene Krabs knows everybody here at PHOI for the most part. Julia's winning MVP. But listen, JP, it's also been a crazy day because not only did we start off with some fun here, apparently, we're not the only ones having fun. Before we even get into soccer, and I know we have our guest, Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad Street, who's crossing through the traffic right now, working his way to the show and going to be joining us shortly.
Literally crossing Broad.
Literally crossing Broad as we speak, actually, to get here to the show. We also had somebody else I wanted to get into some excitement at Penn Station. I don't know if you guys saw the news. We were talking about before the show began that a bull was running loose through Penn Station. I have stopped at Penn Station a number of times for work and sometimes for fun if I just go into the city. And I just can't wrap my mind around how a bull possibly got onto the tracks. Not just in Penn Station, down on the tracks. There's a lot of stairs you have to go down. They have the turns, whatever those turnstiles are. They've got doors. Like, how did the bull get past so many people? Or, I'm going to propose another question to you, JP. Okay. Did it come from a different stop? And it's coming from Connecticut or something.
The Connecticut bull.
And it got off at Penn Station.
I mean, I think there's only one logical answer here. I think this is and listen, I hate giving this team credit, but it's a fantastic marketing tactic by the New York Red Bulls to announce their signing of Emil Forsberg. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano reported that this morning, but I found it was very interesting. Obviously, the Red Bull, as we know, they have a tough time marketing that team to begin with. So let's just put a bull right in the Penn Station. That's going to draw attention. They're going to be trending on Twitter and whatnot, but yeah, it was a lot of fun for a lot of us MLSers because I think a lot of us who love this league went right to the Red Bull considering the proximity of Red Bull Arena. But it's fun.
Red Bull gives you wings? Is it too soon? Apparently. Like, where are the people? I would be jumping on this if I'm Red Bull, if I'm Red Bull Arena, if I'm the Red Bulls. Like, you need to jump on this because there is an actual bull roaming Penn Station. Like, that's wild, but it would be a great social media, plan to have around the bull that's running through the Penn Station.
Red Bull, get on it. It's free marketing for you.
I hate to give you guys help, but here you go. We're literally giving you the plan here. You have an actual bull, take the footage. You have some exciting news around your team for once. Drop it like it's hot. Get the Red Bull gives you wings going. Get something happening. So
how about Tom Bogart's I think on the same line during?
He would be.
Yeah, right.
He would be.
Breaking news. Bull. Red
Tom
Bull.
Tom is everywhere, by the way. So much that he's at Penn Station with the bull that's running loose. He would be, of all the places in the world to be, at the specific time would be at that specific spot. Holy moly. But yeah, Julia's drinking some Red Bull,
As
guys.
Julia's drinking
there
Red
you
Bull.
go. There you go. All right.
Oh
listen.
my God, Eugene. You should release snakes on the train next.
Well, I mean, if you're going with a marketing plot and you want to have a mascot that fits your team, snakes are that makes sense for the union.
33 station, bunch of snakes on the loose.
But also bull is terrifying too. Like okay, wait. Would you rather have a bull or a snake running or slithering?
Ooh, that's a tough
slithering
one.
or running loose. Snakes on a train. We're making a movie out of it. I like it. Call Samuel. Wait, what was the Samuel line? I
had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Would you rather, JP? I'm not letting you get out of this question.
Wow,
a bull or
tough.
a snake? You're on you're walking through Penn Station. It's a random Thursday, and an animal comes across your sight line. Would you rather be a bull or a snake?
I think I'm gonna go with the snake here because I can't escape the bull. I can't muscle the bull. At least with the snake, I might have a chance to step on him, grab him by the neck. But yeah, I'm going with the snake. It's a lose situation here.
So being that I'm wearing these like red boots, I don't think I stand a chance with the bull. But the bull, I don't know actually. I don't know. Snakes, something. I can't really see it as well.
I could see Renee just getting on top of it and riding
I'm
it
getting
like
a
she's
little
at
nervous
PBR.
thinking about it. I think I'm trying to like tackle the bull.
We should test this. We should go to PBR and then see how long. Was it Garrett Stubbs that did it?
Yeah, I've rode that bull many times. I'm solid. Listen, I actually think I would rather the bull because I think I can see it better. Now, bulls are also very, very fast, but also snakes are very like deceptive. But I don't know the snake would attack me right away, actually, now that I think about it. Like, I think a bull attacks you.
They smell fear. They're gone. They're gone.
Okay, I hate to continue this derailing that we have. I just want to end. Can't get here soon. I just want to end because we actually have a lot of soccer topics to get into today, and our show is definitely going to go over. So I hope you guys are ready.
Oh man,
I have a toy. My nephew has a farm, or my niece. They have like toys, and they had a toy bull that was like in the farm, and it actually had like all the parts, like balls and everything. So I'm like scarred from bulls because this literally happened in the last like 24 hours, which is why it's super fresh in my, not 24, maybe like 72. But it's very fresh in my brain as we're talking bulls. It's been like a week of bulls. Bullshit.
Makes sense.
It's been a week of bullshit because I was literally like, why is there a toy for like children with balls?
It was a precursor to your
It was a precursor. Little did I know, days later, a bull was going to be run through Penn Station.
I fully believe in that.
Well, guys, welcome into PHY Union Podcast, where we talk about a little bit of everything here. So it's been a wild start to the day, and it only gets wilder. We do have Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad joining us shortly, but we also have so much to get into. Let's dive right in with the Philadelphia Union. And I know you guys are excited about this conversation, but we're moving on. So the Philadelphia Union made a signing of their own today. The news broke actually this afternoon while I was snacking on my lunch. And they bring in academy product Nick Pariano. And Pariano, who has been as a homegrown midfielder, has had a successful collegiate run, played at Duke University at 20 years old, graduated from YSC Academy, becomes the 21st homegrown player in Union history, and has a lot of great appearances and accolades to his name. So in 72 matches with Duke in his 4 years, had 57 starts, scored 10 goals, 26 assists, started in all of his matches his senior year, and has been someone that's been, actively working through the youth process on a number of different aspects of his career, whether it was playing, with the Union Academy or playing also with the U17, U15, U17, U19 squads, has been a big part of just what the future is for the Union and a big product of how the Union developed players. He's also been a part of the youth national summits and camps. And so to see him be signed on a 2-year contract guaranteed through 2025 with club options for 26 and 27 was cool news. It was cool news. I know Ernst Tanner was saying we've watched Nick develop throughout his time with Union Academy and into a productive and successful collegiate athlete. We're excited to now bring him home to the Union.
Yeah,
and he's a very versatile midfielder who can play with both feet and has the ability to read the game well. And at 20 years old, how he was talking about how Nick is a promising talent for the pathway to the pros and that they look forward to his development in our system. So, JP, as the news broke about the signing of Nick to the Union for the 2-year contract, thoughts on what this means for Nick and overall for the Union?
Yeah, I mean, these type of signings, like, what do you actually make of it? Because how many people watch Nick Pariano play at Duke, right? Like, how many Union fans are watching Duke soccer? How many Union fans are engulfed in YSC Academy stuff that's going on? I know some people are, but realistically, how many people are? So you kind of are just going with the grain of salt. You're going off what Ernst Sanders telling you. You're just going off what the stats and transfer market's telling you. But overall, we talked about it. What are we going to do at that central attacking midfielder position, right? So not a lot of depth behind Gazek. You ran with Joaquin Torres a lot last year.
Right.
This is not a move, I don't think, for next year. I think this is another one of those moves that you're looking more towards the future, just like LaFleur and just like with Ngabo as well. Now, with Pariano, I get excited for two things: the versatility and the fact that this kid can play with both feet. So, obviously there's, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but one of my dreams for the Union has always been to see more of a free-flowing style 4-3-3.
Oh, love a 4-3-3.
Obviously, we can still do the press. You can still do that high press. And when I hear a versatile midfielder, especially with an attacking prowess like this, plays with both feet, I get excited about that idea, maybe that dream one day we can change our philosophies and go more towards that. But overall, this is a kid developed here in Philly, did what he needed to do at Duke. Obviously, he wants to go back to the Philly route. And that right there, the fact that a lot of these kids who have other options do want to continue development here with the Philadelphia Union. And I think that's a big part about it. And obviously, we're trying to continue that development. Brandon Aronson kind of started that with the 10s. You saw what Fontana was able to do. Paxton Aronson as well. So hopefully he can follow that in suit. You still have Jeremy Raffagnolo here as well.
Yeah.
But welcome, Pariano.
I like it. I like it. Listen, first of all, I like the fact that you guys pay attention so much that not only do you enjoy our times where we go left, because, as much as we love talking about the Union and love talking about soccer, we're here weekly. And so we're going to have some other banters. And I like that you guys just jump right in and entertain it. And also, apparently, so much you guys know us well enough that people know I have a cold. This is the second time. It happened earlier in this show also, where I got called on. Someone was like, "Oh, Renee's got a cold," and Babita was like, "You need some
take care of yourself,
some
guys.
Rest, some tea." I agree. Listen,
Vitamin
it is
C.
what it is. Yeah, I got. It's 'tis the season. Everybody's sick this time of year. So, but that being said, as you guys know, we've talked about this many, many times on the show, and how the team is so focused on development and bringing in homegrowns and having them be able to work through the system and progress to be a main part of the team in the future. And this is another one of those moves. I mean, we just talked about it with Isaiah on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it many times before. It's cool to see. I'm just hoping let's have these small signings for the Union with the hopes of something bigger in the future. Like,
Right.
I'm fine with you signing Nick. I'm fine with you signing Isaiah. I'm fine with Sanders.
Yeah.
I'm fine with these moves. But this is not at all going to solve major problems. It does give you youth. It does give you hopefully some depth, that these are guys that can give you some fresh legs, that can give you, as the season progresses, meaningful minutes. I know on Twitter I was talking to somebody after our show, one of our clips that went out, we got into talking, and they're like, okay, yeah, but let's also get these guys playing earlier. And I do think that's a big part of it too. Bring in these young guys and find time to get them meaningful minutes in games, whatever that may look like. And so with the way that the schedule is, you look at the 51 games last year, you love to see these guys get more minutes earlier on to find their way. And also now you can see, okay, maybe they're not a good fit. If you're Joaquin Torres, maybe you try them out earlier. You find out it's not a great fit for our system. You can move in a different direction versus having, them called on in the later parts of the season. So I'm all fine with bringing in some young guys. And now as you get through the start of the 2024, that you can maybe work them in here and there and see how they fit. But I would also love, to your point, I love a good 4-3-3. It'd be nice to see the Union figure out whatever that main formation is, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, 4-4-2, diamond midfield, whatever it looks like. And so with these pieces, let's solidify what that formation is for them as well.
Yeah, I definitely would love to just see that. Obviously, we need some different type of players.
This is our Christmas wish list.
But one thing I want to address here, because I do know that a lot of people were upset because, the first signings you're hearing is Ngabo during the end of the season. We heard LaFleur earlier this week, and now we're hearing Pariano. And And obviously, these are young players, and obviously, these aren't household names within the MLS, let alone the whole entire world. So I do understand kind of the impatience and like the restlessness that the fan base does feel. But I think one thing to remember is that Ernst kind of alluded to this, and this is how the Union, especially under Ernst and Jim, are going to be. It's going to be an emphasis in development with the youth. The youth is the most important part of this club.
Correct.
And I am with the fan base with that. I do believe that they need to make bigger moves, but I'm also more patient. I don't remember the Union ever making big signings in December, like ever. I know we don't make big signings in general, but I mean, I think like Julian Carranza 2 years ago was a big signing that happened during December. So it's not something that typically does happen here with the Union. So I think like, look, obviously we're not happy with what happened at the end of the year. We're obviously not happy with the fact that we don't spend a lot of money, especially when you see with what's going on with Miami. You see what is going on here, signing Messi and those type of players. Union fans want the same thing as well. But have some patience. We're sticking to what we do know, and those type of players will come along.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you can afford to just, take a look at these moves, kind of watch them as they play out, but knowing that none of these are going to be moves that are going to shake things up drastically. It's going to take time. And, right now it's about giving these guys some time to rest. It's been a crazy long season. They've logged a lot of minutes. Give them time to rest, seeing how you can get some of these younger guys signed and put into a position where maybe you can now start to plan for the future, and that's the exciting part. And what else is exciting is our special guest is here, guys. He's crossed Broad Street. He worked in the traffic. We've got Kevin Kinkead of Crossing Broad. Holy crap. Was it a bull out there that caused the traffic? Because there's a bull at Penn Station. I don't know if you read it.
It may as well have been. I know, it was impressive. I think I ran into everything that Philadelphia has to offer. I think it was like there was a SEPTA bus. There's a cement mixer. I think we got 2 school buses there. Yeah, it was actually very impressive. In a bad way. I'm sorry. I hate being late.
It's okay.
We're going to get the article from Crossing Broad. Going into PHY Sports Studios, how difficult it can be with Philly traffic.
This time of day is really rough, though.
Yeah.
I try not to ever be out in Philly if I can. Avoiding. I try to avoid the streets at this time because you're going to hit all of that. It's ridiculous.
We moved out of the city like 3 years ago, and I got it all back. I got all of it back in one day. It's like a walk down, like a bad walk down memory lane. Yeah, no, but this is awesome. My first time checking out the studio since you guys have been down. This is awesome.
Yeah. So welcome into PHOY Sports. Nice to have you here on the show.
Well, thank you.
At least I will say in terms of traffic, I'm going to raise your traffic story one other because yesterday I was running late myself to an appointment. I was racing through the city and I'm stuck at this light and crossing guards are like waving people on. They like to take their time. And all of a sudden on the corner, I see this kid about 8 years old with a full Grinch costume on, just casually like waving and pointing his finger at people. I'm like, what is this? Like, what? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, what is happening here?
It's good to be back. I don't come down and here much often, very often anymore. For the games, yeah, sure. But we were one of the many people who had kids, and we were not the first and last millennial couple to depart from the city during the pandemic, So no, but it's great to be back, man. I don't know what you guys were talking about before we got here. But is it weird for me to say that I was happy to see the Union season end?
No.
Because it was like a slog. It was just like, we watched them kind of like max out, kind of hit the ceiling with the Champions League exit. Yeah. And then so you're going up here and then you kind of fall off the cliff a little bit. And then you see them get back up there kind of to the League's Cup, and they fall off the cliff with the Messi game. And so I don't know how you guys felt, but it's like when they got to the playoffs, I don't know. There wasn't like a lot of juice for it, Because if people see like what inevitably was gonna happen based on what they were watching in the 2 other semifinals that they got to before that, So I don't know I just don't know how much people. It was weird. I've had this kind of sense of like, okay, like now we can like hit the reset button and see what's happening, because it just felt like it just felt like a slog, And I certainly I didn't feel that way about other Union seasons before,
No, it's a great point. Listen, you're coming in, you're getting compliments on the shirt, first of all. I know different people. Yeah, Jillian, Jose, different people are saying fire shirt.
Yeah, I got to shout out my guy. Yeah, the guys from LBF, Aboon and Dom and all that. The Temple kids who started their own apparel company like 10, 12 years ago. Whatever. They did a partnership with the Union, so that was awesome. That was like a full circle moment for them. Because they had done that Casey and the Portland Thorns and all that stuff. So as soon as they it
was a dope line they dropped.
Did the Philly thing, I did a haul. Yeah, I made a haul. So,
but to your point though, I feel that actually. I know Babita's in the chat saying I feel the same way about the Eagles. I don't know about that. I'm not gonna go that far yet with the Eagles. Gosh, if they drop another one, I'm there though. But I will say with the Union, we were talking about in the show, it just felt like JP was more optimistic than I was. I was kind of like, nah, I've been in this situation more on the other side, not typically on the teams trending downward come postseason time. I've been on the other side of it, teams trending upward. But when you follow them week after week, game after game, and just see how they're progressing, and nothing was really changing. The way they were losing, and definitely after that Inter Miami awful loss in the summer, it felt like there was no wind left in their sails. And the way they were playing was so predictable. There was never any sort of like, oh, that was a good loss, or that was a hard-fought game, or that was a good tie. It was kind of like, they got through. They got by. And every game just felt like the same thing every single time. And you never saw a spark, a change. But then also on the other side, like we talked about, you didn't even know where that change was going to come from. Because it ran into the issues of like, who do you even put in? How do you change the lineup? All right, you want to go to 3-back system, maybe to get a different look, and now you have your wingers that can maybe fly up and down the flank, and you have Damian Lowe can now step in with Glesnes and with Jack, but then it's like, where's our offense coming from? So lots of questions, lots of things that needed answers, but more importantly, I think we were all realistic to know it was going to take time to reset and actually get those answers, guys.
I think for myself, like the CCL semifinals loss, like it sucked, but like it was still early enough in the season where I thought, okay, we got some more soccer left to play. They'll figure it out.
April, wasn't it?
Right.
It feels like it was 10 years.
Yeah. And then we get to Leagues Cup, and then I just felt the fatigueness from there, just because of the amount of matches. I understand it was entertaining as a tournament as a whole, but it just added way too many games, and I just started feeling it. Then Messi comes into town, they destroy us, and I'm just like, that was not the Union. There were so many things in that match alone that was so uncharacteristic, and it had me a little concerned. Leading into the playoffs, I was a little bit concerned of the depth. That was my own question mark, because I still, like, we had the starting 11, but it's like, okay, so someone goes down. These guys are obviously playing a lot of games as well. How are we going to change that up a little bit? And we beat New England. I get a little optimistic. And obviously Cincinnati called that, or the missed call, I should say, I guess. That kind of blew there. But no, Kev, you're right. It was very fatiguing throughout the year. And it was just... It was tiring watching the Union at points here, and so
dude, let me
give
you
there with
Eagles, like an Eagles parallel here. So they get their rear end kicked by the Niners and the Cowboys, and like I didn't expect them to win either one of those games. I think they were a betting underdog, right? In both of them, So to me, it wasn't it wasn't that they lost; it was how they lost the games.
Exactly.
And I felt the same exact way with the Union, because when they went out, they had the 1-1, I guess, against LA in the first leg, and it's just like harkening back to April feels like it was a million years ago. I'm trying to remember.
Literally.
But like they gave up the late goal. I think it was 1-0, right? And then they gave up the late goal, so it was 1-1. But then they go out to LA, bad set piece marking on like the first goal, and then they lose 3-0. I'm like, it's not even that. It's not even that they reach the ceiling for me. It's that they see the ceiling and they like smash their head off the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going up, and then you hit this like you hit your limit kind of right there. And that's how I felt about the Lionel Messi game too at the same time, because I was saying with you, I was like, this is not the team that like I know that I've been watching for a couple of years now. And to see Andre kind of his feet not set on those first two goals, to see Jim come out with Chris Donovan starting and sitting on the bench, and like,
oh, stirring up some trauma.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We can all kind of purge this together, I'm laughing, by the way, because I saw a Nick Sirianni thing on the chat.
Yeah, you do give me some Nick vibes,
I get this Sirianni thing all the time. Yeah, I know.
I'm not going to lie. I could see that. I totally could see that.
I know. There was this one time we were doing crossing broadcasts. I want to say, like, both of my girls woke up like real early that morning, so I had like bags under my eyes when we were sitting here doing the video, and I looked like like some guy kept saying like, "Is this drunk Nick Sirianni sitting on the thing here?" So it's fine. I'll embrace it.
Yeah, I get that. I can see that for sure.
As long as he's not eating the stuff across from Pizza Hut, we're good.
Oh Lord have mercy.
No, but it's just I don't mean to like bring back. But I think people like all felt that same way, that it was just kind of like a slog. It's almost like we've seen this before. But in hindsight, should we not have expected that when they were going to run it back with the same 11 as last year? Like, there's no way these guys are going to be able to put up 72 goals again, concede 28. Like, did we not frame this season like properly?
But that's a tough part there, Kev, because it's like You made the final. So everyone's mindset, I think the Eagles had the same thing too. Obviously, they had to lose free agents. That's a thing that they have to go through in NFL. But the mindset's like, we just made it here. So let's just add a couple more pieces and go in there. Obviously, I mean, I've been critical of Ernst's offseason last year. I think those pieces and the fact that they didn't pan out was a bigger problem. And obviously,
I actually compare it to what I'm nervous about with the Phillies right now, because I'm seeing everybody else in Major League Baseball make moves except the Phillies, and I get it. They don't want to make any of the flashy signings of the superstars out there. But when you have a season, nobody's bringing back the same team the next year. They're making changes. They're up. They're adding in, whether it's coaches, coordinators, whether it's players. They're making changes so that they can improve their rosters. So you cannot come back with the exact same group and expect you're just going to run it back just because we're going to be better this year and we're going to learn from last year, because you need to change up your personnel. And sometimes you just need different voices in the locker room. You just need a different look to how you attack. And I felt like everybody had the playbook on the Union. They had no other changes, nothing to throw, because, all right, last year you have historic numbers. The offense was clicking on all cylinders, incredible. This year, you're not going to go into a game and surprise anybody. Just like the Eagles, same thing. This is why I didn't expect them to run through this incredible stretch of 49ers, Cowboys, Seahawks, and leading up to the Christmas Day game against the Giants, because you're not going to go into the same games the way that you did the year before. Now people have a target on you. Coming out of the MLS Cup for the Union, everybody was ready to play their best soccer against the Union, and so they didn't belong there. And the Union didn't make any significant changes because, as we've talked about, the Union, unfortunately, are a pay less, just develop homegrowns. I love the homegrown product, as they sign another homegrown today. That's fantastic. But what happens when you have an Inter Miami bringing in Messi and you're bringing in 19, 20-year-old homegrowns? It doesn't even compare. So this offseason so far has been, okay, time to reset, not going to hit the panic button fully. But as these homegrowns are getting signed, I am going to continue paying attention to, okay, what are the Union actually doing that's going to make an impact now? These homegrowns, much like how Nate Harriel and Jack McGlynn took some time to get going, they're going to take time. They're going to get there. But who's going to come in and impact the Union this upcoming season, game one? That's the types of changes that I would love to see being made, that require to spend a little bit more money and be willing to invest, that you're going to have a better team this upcoming season right now, not 5 years from now.
Yeah, I got no problem with the developer.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't think anybody does, but you're not, Jim has said it straight up before, not every class is going to produce a Brendan Aronson and a Mark McKenzie. You may have some classes that are not, that are a little bit of less in quality than others. And, it's funny because, like, if you go back to, you're talking about, like, the additions of, like, the three guys that they made trades for, Joaquin Torres, Andres Pereira goes out on loan, and Damian Lowe is really the only guy of those three who really had any kind of significant contribution this year. Right. But, I'd ask both of you guys a question. Like, which player from 2022 to 2023, who did they get the most contribution out of, who was actually on the roster? Like, who took the next step forward?
And that's the issue.
To me, it was just like Jesus Bueno, and that's really it.
That's the issue.
I didn't see anybody else take like who's going to take like the next step, or like who's going to. Jack McGlynn, to me, had a pretty good year, but he was. I think Jack McGlynn of 2022 was probably the same kind of guy. And like, to your point, Renee, it's like
Harriel.
Well, Nate Harriel, and then they get the thing where they kind of have to flip him back and forth.
I know.
He's going to play some left back.
Now you're moving him around.
Yeah. And I just don't. I think that it was nice to see the wrinkle with them going to three at the back, but it really doesn't change the way that they play. They still play direct transition. They still have the triangles with the two strikers, and the midfield setup is kind of the same. You're just adjusting the personnel, really. But it stylistically didn't change the way that they played.
Not at all.
They weren't possessing more of the ball. They weren't, playing through a different pivot or anything like that. They still had their grinders on the outside. So it just, I don't know, man. It got a little stale.
Yeah. If anything, it made it tougher because they didn't have a good shape or spacing most of the time. It was a lot of just depending on flank services. Love what Kai Wagner is able to do from the flank, but that can't be the only way you're attacking. Set pieces can't be the only way you're attacking. And for as great as, Andre is in net, and as great as your back line is, they're going to be susceptible if you cannot generate offense. And it felt like it got to the point where the Eagles, just kidding, the Union offense, but it is the same, actually. It's a very similar comparison. That's why I'm jokingly but seriously saying it. The Union offense, much like the Eagles offense, isn't able to contribute, and your defense is worn out and exhausted. And that's why Just like how there's so many weird, disgustingly weird parallels with how everyone's like, oh, that's 5 games. The Eagles went down double digits in the halftime. I'm like, yeah, because their defense is exhausted. Just like Andre Blake giving up a very lax goal is because Andre Blake has to do too much. The back line has to do too much. And so the Union have struggled this past season with Daniel Gazdag, Julian Carranza, Mikel Ua. Listen, where are you in big moments? I know we talked about it. I know you're the biggest one that's like the frustrated point of, especially someone like Ua, like where are you in big moments when we're relying on you to generate at least shots? Give us shots on target, give us something. And instead, it's just a whole game of just defending.
Yeah, I mean, like one question I do have, and Kevin, I'm gonna throw this to you too. Is like,
I'm sorry, by the way. I just sat down and started blathering.
No, you're good.
It's fine. You know what?
No, you're good, man.
I mean, like hijack the show, and I just start like blurting out whatever.
Listen, we were talking about the bull earlier. We're relaxed.
So anything's
it's fine.
fair game. All right,
it's all fair game.
I'm sorry, man.
It's not newsy in that sense.
No, you're good because obviously, like one of the main criticisms has been the depth and fatigue of the team. But LAFC just played in the MLS Cup. And they kind of had some of the similar issues too, and they still found a way to make it to the MLS Cup. So I mean, like a lot of Union fans are a little. I think right now, seeing like the Pariano signing, you've seen the LaFleur signing. The one consensus I have is the Union fans want to hear that big signing now. Like they're a little bit impatient. Like, is it simple just splashing money on a player? Like, what do we need to do to get back to 2022?
It's just the timing of it, man. You know, I feel like. With Jay Sugarman, if last year was not the trigger, like you were literally 5 minutes or whatever from winning it all.
Yeah.
If that doesn't trigger something in your head to say, okay, the final bit of investment to get us over the top, if not then when?
And the player who did it to us too, man. Like that type of player.
Yeah.
I know. It's
like, that should just tell you everything. You're right.
Those parallels do you get? You get Gareth Bale. wait, here's the count there. You get Gareth Bale jumping over Jack Elliott, right? Love Jack Elliott. It's not about him. It's about his story. It's about the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
World-class guy who played for Tottenham and Real Madrid against a draft pick from my alma mater. You know what I'm saying? Same parallels in the optics department where Lionel Messi comes to Chester and you start Chris Donovan against. Again, I'm not picking on Chris Donovan or anything, but talking about a guy who went to Conestoga.
Bigger picture.
Coming through. Right. So, I mean, it almost defies logic that they've been as competitive as they've been, playing this way. And part of me says like, that's kind of like their identity is like this plucky underdog that does the development thing that doesn't spend money. So if you do spend money to keep up now, did you lose your identity? I don't know.
Or are you evolving your identity where is the Gareth Bale of the Union?
Well, that's what. Can you imagine if they made some kind of signing like that? Though, how many people would they've gotten this close already without really having a superstar?
Exactly.
So what is if you're not going to do? That's what makes me
scratch my head. Where is like there's these? That's what we also have talked a lot about. I'm sure you have had the same issues that. As much as you don't want to have to spend money, the MLS is growing. We love it. We're seeing more and more international talents. The fact that Messi is in the MLS in itself is something that, outside of when David Beckham did it, we've wanted to have the best of the best playing in this league. Okay, now the MLS is attracting the best. Yeah. But the Union have to also have the best and able to keep up. And to have all these underdogs and have that underdog mentality is great and all. But when you look at champions, you look at Columbus, you look at LAFC, what is a major difference? They have superstars that have played on an international level. We talked about when are the Union going to bring in a big name from a European league? That's actually a household name already.
But isn't that what you think about though? It's like when you watch a game like that, or you're watching the Union like kind of struggle. You're like, okay, who's the guy who's gonna go grab the game?
You don't have that.
Yeah, and like Daniel Goshawk's not that kind of number 10. It's like go find the ball, go get into the game. How many times are they relying on Kai Wagner just pumping crosses?
And that's the problem. Yeah, the whole game plan's around Kai Wagner dropping passes on someone's nose where they don't just have to breathe on the ball to score because otherwise it's not going to happen. Like that's not the game plan. You need to have something else. And I've said it before, Columbus, I hate to continue talking about it, but Ivan was talking about it when I was watching Manchester City play and Tottenham play and all these other teams. I'm like, why can't the Union hold possession and combine and stretch their opponent's defense and make good runs and create in the attacking third? Because they don't have those players. You don't have the personnel for it.
Remember in 2020, that
Oh.
counterattacking style, that high press, it was
Brendan.
fun to watch.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
the bubble, all this,
Oh my
and then like
gosh.
as the years goes on, like, I don't feel the same way about that counterattack. Like I don't see it as
No.
clean. Like
no,
this year,
that's, can I say, by the way, that was kind of a misnomer, like in 2021 and 2022, because I think people just kind of like glommed onto this idea of like press. Press became the buzzword. High press. I'm like, well, ever since Brendan left, they haven't really been a. They play. Renee, help me out here. They play like a collective team defense with cues. But they don't push up like they did when Brendan was in. You know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of
High
thing.
press is like you're forcing turnovers, you're not giving time on the ball,
They
you're
walk the
very
line,
aggressive.
the defensive lines up higher.
Yeah, you're as a unit like locking them into one space, winning it, and then exploding off into transition.
Saw a lot more low
That's
blocks
not the
this year.
Union.
But
Brendan
was the player for that, wasn't he? Because you remember
he was buzzing all over the field.
Yeah, and then when Jamiro came in 2021, he did a pretty admirable job there. But I thought he was better as an 8. When he was playing on that supporter shield team the year before. So I wonder if they just, I wonder if the identity. I wonder if like the diamond is just a little stale, and I wonder if they try to switch it up and do things a little bit different here. I mean, people remember that Jim was a 4-2-3-1 guy,
right,
for the first however many years. We asked Ernie Stewart, we're like, are these guys capable of playing another formation? Like nothing against a 4-2-3-1, but this is like all we ever watch.
That's 4-4-2 diamond.
Yeah, so I don't know,
gosh.
but I mean, like from a macro standpoint, though, do you guys are you positive about the off season or no?
It's just hard because I said this point before you came in. Like the Union rarely make a big signing in December, so like right now it's like you got to wait as a fan. Like I think Carranza happened in December 2 years ago, but other than that, like big signings happen right before Orange training camp when they're down in Clearwater.
That's true, yeah.
So like we're gonna have to sit here
the
wait.
guys acclimated in time because they come in like January.
Then you have the CCC now, like early.
I think unfortunately, and I know we have to move on from this because we have a lot actually to still hit on. I think unfortunately with the growth of the MLS actually is an issue for the Union, because as much as we're seeing more and more around the league of bringing in international talent, the salaries going up, a lot is just changing. Even, of course, the schedule itself has changed. You have things like the CONCACAF Champions Cup. You have all these tournaments and games happening within the MLS season, but the Union aren't built or focused on being able to maintain that. So if they don't change their identity, guys, it's going to be hard to keep up at some point.
Yeah.
Like this past season kind of felt like, wait a minute, are the Union moving in the wrong direction? The MLS Cup felt like, all right, this is it. They're right there. They're, it was the best MLS Cup we've ever seen. It was exciting. It was down the wire. They just fell short. Build off of that. And this season was like 10 steps backwards. So again, not hitting the panic button, but with all that we're seeing happening around the MLS in terms of moves to grow the game, if the Union cannot evolve with that, it's kind of like they're still trying to use a payphone and everyone else is using like an iPhone. Like you gotta evolve and you gotta be, I'm a late adopter myself, but you gotta find a way to adopt at some point.
We're still
and
on the
keep
trap
up with
phone.
the times.
The league's on
we're
iPhone 15.
fax machines or typewriters, and everybody else is whipping out like iMacs and iPads. Like it's time to change a little bit because it's exciting for the league, but it makes me nervous for the Union. And now also we heard, of course, as of Wednesday night, the Union are going to be facing a very, I can't use the word friendly at all, familiar opponent in Deportivo Saprissa for round 1 of the 2024 CONCACAF Champions Cup. As we all know, last time these guys faced off, that was April of 2021 when, back 2021, the good old days, guys.
Yeah, that was the first year.
The good old days when we saw that first leg that was
Kai Wagner flying in the air.
Brutal. And that entire the entire both games of that, even with that 4-0 win in the second leg of it, still was very intense, physical. And with that, the Union going up against them again in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it makes me a little nervous, unfortunately.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see them come out, and this may be a pipe dream. They'll never admit this, but I want them to say, we don't care about pick a competition. We don't care about the U.S. Open Cup, and we don't care about the Leagues Cup, because here's what happens. It's like maybe the Open Cup they kind of punted, but they gave their best effort at 3 other competitions and they didn't win any of them. I would ask Union fans a hypothetical. If you won, pick a competition. If you won any one of the other competitions, would you trade that for like never winning another game the rest of the season. If you went out and you won the Champions League, but you came in last place in MLS, would you make that trade? I would take it 10 times out of 10. Because to me, it's about winning. I mean, what's the alternative? We would just watch them go to losing the semifinals.
There'd be no hardware.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Would you rather get close a bunch of times but never win it, trade that for winning one, and then bottoming out? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we're going to look back at this season like 15 years from now and say, remember when they went to the semifinals of this, the semifinals of that, and then the conference semifinals, but they didn't win any of them. It's a pretty damn good year, right? But comparative to expectations, it was not. So I would like for them to prioritize and say, this is what we're going to try to win next year. And when we get to the Leagues Cup, we're going to throw out a bunch of kids.
I'm sure LAFC's think some of their fans could be thinking the same thing. It definitely makes you wonder. I know actually there were some discussions that I believe Jim was the one talking about it because we mentioned on Tuesday, now it's time to prioritize and take a look at the schedule as a whole and maybe go into things a little bit differently in these non-league games, because it does make you think, guys. When it's game time and you have to step between the lines, are you gonna put the best team forward every time, or maybe you're gonna be more strategic with how you're doing that?
I mean, listen, for me, bigger picture when talking about this team in the city, MLS Cup makes more sense to the average Philly sports fan. So obviously that's the one I would want, but Champions League, well, now I guess Champions Cup, that's obviously really cool because you think of it as a soccer fan, the Champions League, Copa Libertadores, that's so important for those continents. So obviously winning those would be dope, but I want to win the MLS Cup.
Do you know how hard it was for me to explain the Leagues Cup to people last
year?
Dude,
oh my God, I know.
Seriously. Well, now we have now it's easy because the NBA has, we talked about this before, the in-season tournament.
Yeah, so now people are like, I do get it. There's in-season tournaments.
I heard somebody call it
soccer's been doing that.
I heard somebody call it the NBFA Cup. I kind of like that.
And better than the IST?
Better than the IST. The IST sounds
the ISTs, I'm like, what is this? This acronym's weird. But yeah, it's interesting to think about, would you rather win something versus winning nothing? And you know where you can go to make sure that you guys are always taking care of winning something, and that's at least in your pockets. That's Rocket Money. So over at Rocket Money, I use Rocket Money myself. I'm a big fan of them because the Virgo in me likes to be organized and on top of where my finances are going. Now, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. What it does is it allows you to see, okay, which subscriptions do I have? Am I paying $10 for Spotify and $1.99 for Apple? And what else am I paying my money to? Now you can have a big picture of your finances. You can see where all of your subscriptions and your money is going each month, and it allows you to make sure you're saving. Now, Rocket Money has over 5 million users, me being one, and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. So as we're talking about, would you rather win something or win nothing? You could win a lot of keeping money in your pocket over at Rocket Money. So stop wasting money on things you don't use, cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and head over to Rocket Money. You can check it out at rocketmoney.com/PHLY. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/PHLY to make sure you're being financially responsible, guys. Yes, Babita, it is a new sponsor. People are like, this is the longest this show has gone, or any PHLY show has gone without a sponsor read. Well, there you go, guys. There's our first one. It is exciting. But listen, we're gonna run over because we also we're allowed to. We have a couple other things I do want to hit on, because one of the things I think is really exciting is it feels like some of the best soccer is yet to come. Hopefully for the Union as well. But we'll see. As we just keep hearing all these updates and all these news, specifically for the MLS, Commissioner Don Garber was talking a lot about how excited he is. It's been a transformational year for our league, and also just looking at the future as a whole. There have been a lot of changes. Financially, we're seeing changes where clubs are spending more money and being comfortable with bringing in someone like Messi or Luis Suarez and investing in their clubs to make sure that they can compete and win games. We're also seeing a lot of just changes overall, of course, in the product and how people are watching the MLS, things like the Apple TV deal and just getting more exposure. And Garber was also saying the eyes of the world are now on Major League Soccer because the best player to ever play the game is here, of course, referring to Messi. To say the least, this is the Messi effect. And you know what? I don't blame them. We're all jumping on the bandwagon for the Messi effect because Messi is absolutely changing things. We did, of course, continue to just hear all the numbers that came out, but not to mention the fact that we have Copa America coming up. World Cup is coming up. A lot of exciting things that are happening in our own backyard. So with that, the soccer world is paying more attention to U.S. soccer, North American soccer. And it's been great to see. But, what I think is most exciting is, I hate to say it, the Messi Ronaldo news that we're going to get to see Messi Ronaldo again. And
possibly for the last time.
I know, it's weird to think of that.
Yeah.
But we did see the announcement that Inter Miami is going to be playing 2 games in Saudi Arabia, which includes playing against Ronaldo. That's all I needed to hear. So talk about growing the game. We know Saudi Arabia is ching, 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 throwing a lot of money out there at all their superstars. And now for the MLS to be able to have some of those preseason types of games that are happening, those will be taking place. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see these two go at it again. So, guys, with that news that we're going to see January 29th, February 1st is when those games are being played against Al Hilal and then and Al Nassr, which is Ronaldo's team. The growth of the game. How are we feeling about a Messi Ronaldo showdown to start off 2024?
I don't blame them for milking it for all that it's worth. I mean, they're thinking big. They're looking global. You know what I mean? So part of me rolls my eyes because it's like, I got to read another like Messi thing on the official MLS website.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's the biggest marketing weapon you've ever had in your entire life. Do everything that you can with it. But I kind of have like mixed feelings on it because while you have this this Apple TV service that allows you to go global now, I don't know how many people I talked to who were like, I would have watched the Union this year if they were still on PHL 17 or something like that. So I get it. They traded out 4-for-4 WIP guy for Messi Ronaldo fan from Spain or from Argentina. Is it a good trade? I guess. Yeah, if you want to go global, sure. And I would just say this, like I think Don Garber is probably the best commissioner in all the sports right now.
Hot take.
I really do. If he's not, name somebody better.
Well, I mean, I obviously agree with you, but I don't think a lot of the listeners would be agreeing with you about Garber.
Well, I would like to hear that.
Who do you think they would say
I just think that like people don't understand like the job of commissioner and how difficult that is.
Yeah.
So when you see things that you don't like, the easy thing is just like, oh, screw Garber. He's the one that's ruining it.
Nobody has complained more about various slights to the Union over the years than myself. I still don't know why Clint Dempsey and Michael Bradley were allowed to pick the teams they wanted to go to. While the Philadelphia Union had to go through the whatever the hell order it was called at the time to get Maurice Adu. But I'm never gonna, whatever makes MLS bigger is good for MLS. And the hope, to the point about Jay Sugarman, is that if the cheaper owners in the league aren't going to spend and they aren't going to step their game up, then we're going to go without you. Yeah. So then you can we'll either force you to keep up, or if you want to get out, you can get out. It's like John Fossil and the Giants thing. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, get out. Like it's almost like you're in MLS like 4.0, 5.0 now. So are we going to have a steady diet of Messi and Ronaldo shoved down our throats? Yeah, but it's probably the best. Sure. That's probably for the best. If that makes the league profile grow.
I mean, I'm with you. Like the Messi thing, it's like when you're a kid, right? And you don't like vegetables, but you eat it because it's good for you. I know Messi is good for my
vegetables.
Messi's vegetable. Messi's good for my
like
league.
That.
I'm just not the biggest fan of Messi right now, and it's just because of just kind of what it's created here. Like playoff game in New England, round 1.
I know
we have a freaking Messi fan in the stands. Like, dude, they're not even in the playoffs.
I heard you tell this story so many times. You're so irritated still.
Like, but that's just like the type of stuff that's just like is frustrating. Like about it, because like Eagles like football fans. Like, how many like Philadelphians are wearing Pat Mahomes jerseys to Eagles games?
But you will get LeBron James jerseys at the Wells Fargo when the Sixers are playing in the playoffs too. I've seen it.
Like during the playoffs?
Like you'll get,
oh my God.
I've seen it.
That's just part, I guess that's just part of like our culture as a society these days. But that is just like the only part about it. The Apple TV thing is interesting because I understand why we went to it and I'm not mad at it. But I'm just wondering how many people we are losing. Like, I'm curious, like the MLS Cup, like that should be the most eyes seen on a game. How many eyes did we actually get for this year's MLS Cup? Because now it was on Apple TV.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love if there was some kind of data that I don't think we'll ever be able to find it, but how many people did you lose on the local level? Like how many Union casuals that would have watched if it was on PHL 17, opposed to how many new subs you gained by opening the door to like Messi fan in Argentina. You know, I don't think we'll ever. I mean, that's like proprietary data anyway. But I would love to see like if they thought because it was very calculated, it's very obvious what they were doing. They're saying we don't care about, you know, casual 55-year-old white dude from South Philly. We're going to go after the young guy who likes the global game, and we want to be a global brand. So I can't fault them for that. I care more about the union than the league.
Yeah.
And the growth of the union than the league. But I mean, if the league starts to grow, then they'll pull everybody along with them. So I guess they're intertwined in that way, in a roundabout way, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, the MLS is heavily leaning into Messi, and it does make sense. You know, the Messi cam, you know, this matchup against Ronaldo, it makes sense to me.
People got to remember too when Beckham came. Sorry, I've been coughing all winter.
Sorry,
because I got 2 kids who bring back a different thing every
Julia,
time.
take it off me.
Yeah.
Hide me.
Get this woman some water, please. Yeah. Do we have any water?
She's got her water. While you talk, Kevin.
Yeah. What was I saying? I was vamping. I was trying to help you out while you were hacking. No, way back when in 2007. I mean, I don't know how many people in the chat remember, or if you guys were watching when David Beckham came over here the first time. It was like
Chelsea,
and they had like 17. They had the shot of him sitting on the bench. There were 17 cameras like all pointed at him, and like the guy like to his left, you know, who was making like $40,000 that year and like sharing an apartment in Hermosa Beach. You know, but that's always how it was. I mean, like those big signings usher in new eras of MLS. So the way that I would spin the Messi thing for Union fans is like, if you want Jay Sugarman to spend more, or if you want the Union to enter that upper echelon, maybe they have to be dragged into it.
Yes.
And maybe signing a dude like that and up in the game forever. And maybe that's the way. Maybe that's the way to force the issue. You know.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now that I can speak words, guys, I'm back. I'm alive. I'm alive. Gosh. I just needed to hear more Messi to revive myself. No, I'm just kidding. I will say we're gonna get force fed that. You know, just like we got. Listen, we know we live in a sports world, or just in a world in general, where social media and everything likes to just lean into whatever the trending topic is, no matter how much we don't want to hear it. How much do we have to hear about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? How much do we have to hear about Messi? How much do we have to hear about Ohtani? How much do we have to hear about, you know, pick one. Now, I mean, Tom Brady gets dropped in there all the time. It's like, we need to do something for marketing. Drop in Tom Brady with a Topps card. Yeah. You know, it just, sports understand it. I understand it. It's all business. Having the Messi cam, I'm surprised I didn't follow him to the bathroom. You get Messi updates with the newsletter where you can just specifically get things on what Messi's doing. Like, there's leaning into everything Messi because Messi is the greatest of all time.
You got Alexis Guerrero on CBS Scolasso analyzing pizza. So, like, we got it all with Messi right now.
So, I think it from a marketing standpoint makes complete sense. But from a standpoint of, like, what about everybody else? Hey, everybody else, do the same thing. Inter Miami brought in Messi, and now look into Miami. They're competing for hardware. They're winning hardware. They went from being a team that was not even in contention for a playoff spot to being a team that was winning trophies, talk about winning something, and at least vying for a playoff spot. Other clubs need to catch on, which is why I go back to my original point. As the league is growing, for some clubs like the Union, it might not be the best thing, and that works in their favor as that just, I want to be more local, Philly-based focus because soccer is the global game. You got to catch on. And if in order to compete, the MLS needs to do that. The NWSL, actually, for their championship game, they did allow it to be seen on CBS. I mean, the numbers they had were through the roof. It was awesome. First of all, the game itself was fantastic. But the numbers were through the roof because they gave access. So it is supply and demand. But I think the MLS, and I hope the MLS, does a better job of taking a look at the bigger schedule and saying, okay, which games do we take, have behind the paywall? And which games are we maybe offering for free and adding more of those in? Because you need to make sure you're still attracting all of your consumers, even the Philly fans versus the European fans. Attract everybody because that's what's only going to help. And when you look at the rest of the world in terms of where they are, that is the difference. You know, you have soccer 24/7. I know somebody was joking, like, what are we going to talk about today on PHY Union? It's like, what are we not going to talk about? Like, there's so much soccer going on.
I know.
There's literally, like, we could spend hours and hours and hours talking about soccer and everything going on. There's so much Champions League, Premier League. There's stuff going on with FIFA right now that I want to hit on before we wrap up. Like, so much that's happening and always something soccer-wise. So the MLS is now finally taking the bull by the horns and catching on. I'm going
like
to bring it full circle back to how we opened to keep up with the rest of the soccer world.
And real quick, because obviously we're talking about games, especially games for 2024. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got the sponsor here for you with the Game Time app. It is not going to be stressful buying tickets any longer. I'm going to be heading to the PHLY Flyers takeover here tonight. So obviously tonight's not a good example, but for the future, if you guys are heading down to the game, you don't have tickets, you're hanging out, tailgating with your buddies, well, then go right onto the Game Time app. Use it. It's the easiest app to use to buy tickets, and you can find the best deals as well. Right now, Game Time app has us hooked up right now. When you use the promo code PHLY for first-time users, you get $20 off your first purchase. So make sure you guys check out our sponsor here, Game Time app. Use the promo code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. And thank you to the Game Time app here. Kev, I want to throw something real quick to you because obviously we're talking a lot about big signings. One thing I've thrown at Renee, and this is kind of my direction, I'm not someone who's per se saying we need to go get another Messi, Ronaldo. But one thing, it would be nice, of course. One thing I've always looked at is how many big prospects in these big four leagues that don't get enough playing time, that are just rotting away on benches. And why aren't we trying to find those players to supplement? Because I think those are players who are getting valuable development over in big time clubs, and they just need playing time. I'd feel like it's a no-brainer. Those are the type of signings I'm looking at for this club.
Kind of like a
look at the guy that knocked us out, Mascara.
Well, yeah, or like a European version of that's what the Carranza storyline was, really, like a guy who was kind of out of favor in a certain place, and we've got playing time for you here. Yeah, I mean, Manchester, or New York City FC, the teams that have affiliate clubs elsewhere, Red Bull and whatever, have been able to use their pipelines to be able to do those kinds of money. They are kind of money ball moves if you think about it, like buy low loans or like low risk, high reward kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think that I don't know if the Union need to go out and spend $20 million on some dude, but find me the next Glesnes, the next Jose Martinez, the next Kai Wagner. I mean, these were all good, good signings. It's fun. I panned the Kai Wagner thing more than anybody. What the hell were they doing signing this guy from the third division Germany? Then he ends up being a top 5 player in Philadelphia Union history. But yeah, the moral of me telling you that is I trust Ernst. I mean, he's got the track record to show that he, I think last year when he did those trades in the league, that was a departure for him. They hadn't done anything like that besides Carranza before that. My theory is that I think he struck gold with the Carranza thing. He's like, I think I can do it again. Mm-hmm. And then they were kind of whatever. I mean, the Damian Lowe one was good. But yeah, I mean, they need a full revamp. I'm pragmatic about it. I think that they will retool. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a reload. I think it's going to be what were the Flyers calling it? Like an aggressive retool or something?
Oh, gosh.
2 years ago. Is that a trigger word? Should I say that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Please don't say the GM's name, but yes.
I think they got the right. But I'm not worried about them not having the right people in place.
Yeah.
I think Jim can coach. I think Ernst can go get them.
Sure.
So I'm fascinated to see how they keep up with with Messi, with Messi League Soccer. It's pretty good. I just thought of that.
Messi League Soccer.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
I like it. Yeah, it is basically Messi League Soccer at this point.
Shirts are getting printed as we speak.
No, literally. Someone's like, Messi League Soccer. Go, run with it.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So last couple things I just want to hit on before we wrap up. And Kevin, we appreciate you taking time to join us.
Yeah.
We also heard, as we're talking about Don Garber, ironically, reinstated Bruce Arena, the winningest coach in MLS history. Is free to work in the MLS again. Interesting enough, because as we know, resigned with New England this past season. There was an investigation that happened. That was just in September. It's only December, guys. And I know he was trying to actively step into the role with DC United, and he is a candidate to fill that spot, and he's back. That was interesting to me. I thought it was pretty fast, to be honest. We still don't know exactly what happened in New England. We still don't even know. It's kind of shady in a little bit.
So is it the responsibility of the league to be more transparent?
That's what I feel like the league.
Be nice.
Okay, I'm gonna hope, but I don't like to assume that they did their due diligence and fully seeing the investigation through. Yeah. But I would imagine something should have been released at this point if you're gonna reinstate him. That there's more clarity as to why he had to, what exactly was toxic and happening behind the scenes that led to him resigning in the first place.
Nobody, not a single reporter had a single sniff of that. There wasn't even a bad report out there. There were no reports on that.
Nothing.
There was no chance that would happen in the NBA though. Someone would have peep that out.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if there was a Woj or a Shams or something.
Oh, yeah.
But it was strange. Yeah, that was such a random thing. I don't know, not to sidetrack it, but like, where did you guys come back with the Kai thing? Because there was the contract.
That's
offer,
also a weird thing,
but was that just a bona fide, like, here's a guy who's out of contract. It's kind of like more like a procedural thing, like you to retain rights or something like that. You make them the bona fide offer. I don't know if they really wanted to bring Kai Wagner back. Did we ever?
No, because it's also that, and actually even Ali's been just kind of out there in the wind at this point too.
His situation wasn't resolved.
Yeah, like it's just out there in the wind. We don't really know what's going on. We're just kind of waiting.
Kai's team apparently appreciated the offer from what Ernst said, but that's pretty much all we do know. And it is going to be interesting because he obviously just signed the floor, and there's like, I guess there's like plans of possibly like development. He might see some minutes this year, maybe like a rotational type of piece here and there. But I mean, that left back position is definitely a huge question mark for sure.
Yeah. It's weird to have these just kind of unknown situations. Like we have no idea what happened.
At least a statement, I mean, like on the Bruce Arena thing, like maybe you run into a situation where there's like legal, you got to worry about legal stuff or
But then should he be reinstated so quickly?
Well, that's the question. But then at least just give us a statement saying like Bruce Arena has been reinstated following investigation found blah blah blah. Even just something. Even if the statement says nothing, at least like make it less of a this crazy mystery.
Yeah, I mean all that's out there is just inappropriate and insensitive remarks, but we don't know what that means. Like how that could be anything. I mean, I don't like the sound of it, but that could be literally anything. So it's weird to me that it seems kind of quick and kind of like just swept under the rug a little bit of like, well, we're moving on to the next team.
One of the most winningest managers in MLS history too. Like we know nothing about what happened in New England. It's just crazy.
Well, I will run through this last thing because I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Since part of what we're doing here for all of you guys tuning in at PHLY Union Podcast, we're not just talking Union, we're not just talking MLS, we're going around the world. Soccer is a global sport, and that also includes men's and women's side because why not? Obviously myself, I'm going to, wherever I can, plug in women's soccer as much as I possibly can. So FIFA did announce the finalists for the Coach of the Year award. Emma Hayes was one of them who now is going to be stepping in with the U.S. or has officially been awarded the opportunity to coach the U.S. women's national team. The list of the best FIFA coaches, by the way, is phenomenal. On the women's side, it's Jonathan Giraldez, Emma Hayes, and Serena Wiegman. On the men's side, it's Pep Guardiola. I can never say his last name, guys. I'm sorry. I just can't. Guardiola. Gosh, it doesn't roll off my tongue as well. I'm just sorry. Simone Inzaghi and Luciano Spalletti. So a lot of great coaches there. And with Emma Hayes taking over for the U.S. women's national team, it led me down a rabbit hole, which is why I had to bring it here on the show, that there was a report, according to FIFA, that 1 in 5, there's 4 of us in this room, including Julia. So one of us, if we added a 5th person, would be involved in this. 1 in 5 women's World Cup players were abused online during the World Cup run. Then saying that they were 29% more likely to receive online abuse than those at the men's tournament. And I thought that was astonishing. Like,
really?
1 in 5 players at the Women's World Cup, not just with the U.S. women's national team, guys, with the women at all 152 players that they're referring to that received targeted, discriminatory, abusive, or threatening messages. And that's abuse, hate speech, anything. That's just online.
So
disgusting.
These are definitely just like old heads that have nothing better to do.
It gets worse. 50% of those were abusive messagings around homophobic, sexual, or sexist remarks as well.
Yeah, they just have nothing. Because like the thing is that like even when I talk like women's sports like on social media, like the one thing I get is like, oh, dude, no one cares about women's sports. So like it's like okay, so those stats are like, all right, so you guys literally have nothing better to do, and you're just going on to these accounts and then just spreading negative thoughts. That's interesting, I guess.
I've noticed that my workday tends to be better, like disproportionate to the amount of time that I sit there on Twitter.
For sure.
I don't think that's any surprise to anybody, but I guess the most disappointing thing to hear there is that it extends beyond the United States team. You had the built-in like political stuff, Megan Rapinoe, the kneeling, Carly Lloyd, and all that stuff. There was some built-in. Everybody was already gonna take their side and have their say about it. But I don't sense that. I mean, I'm not familiar if there's other situations like that for every other country, you know. So it would suggest to me that just generic.
It's bound to happen.
I'm trying to pick my words. Yeah,
it's bad. It's just bad. ESPN reported the U.S. women's national team has received more than twice the number of discriminatory or threatening posts of any other nation. It just, when I read that, I was like, first of all, I had to bring it to our viewers' attention more than just like retweeting it. But I'm sad by that. You know, women's sports are growing, and I remember I put a couple tweets out that like caught all this heat. And like one of them, I was saying like people will never understand how exhausting it is being a woman in sports. People were like, "How can it be so tiring? You're not doing construction. You're not a doctor that's like performing heart surgery." I'm like, whoa. First of all, just my perspective. Like I'm just saying, I'm not saying they're not exhausting. I'm just saying mine is also exhausting. But people are still very much stuck. A lot of people, I should say, not everyone, stuck in this old mindset of like women's sports just is not a thing, and it's not the same. It's not as exciting. It's not as, you know, whatever. And they just completely disrespect female in sports, period. Definitely female athletes, but women in sports at all. And I was like, this is mind-boggling to me that as we're talking about the growth of the game and all these exciting things happening around the world, unfortunately for the women's side, even as much as it's growing, there's still so much hate, discriminatory comments that are just being sent to them for no reason. Like you don't see people sending that to Messi or Ronaldo.
It's so weird because like I'm not a big college basketball guy, but I love basketball. So I'll sit down and watch college basketball. So like for me, like sports, like I love sports. I don't care what the gender is. I don't care what league it is. I'll watch it. Mm-hmm. Like and like for some of these people, like they're just like, oh, women's basketball. No.
No. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I hope at least like on the American side, it seems kind of weird to say, but I think Megan Rapinoe retiring, I think the longer it is that Carly Lloyd is away from the game, at least here, that'll kind of, some of that stuff will subside, because a lot of that was charged on political and social lines, and you had the equal pay thing. You had a lot of highly publicized, you know, debates that were everywhere, right? So, you know, if that fades a little bit, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. I mean, like if they're fighting for what they think they deserve, then it should be publicized. It should be out there. But I think naturally, as that kind of subsides, I think less of that, you know, specific players being, you know, representing a certain side of the argument. I think that will kind of help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the women's game has grown so much more in other countries outside of here. You know, I mean, like that's, you know, it's unfortunately it's going to come with the territory. So I think the moral of the story always is just never go on social media.
Yeah. Linda Caicedo is probably the biggest soccer player in Colombia right now after the tournament she had and then the World Cup. So it's definitely growing worldwide, and we just got to keep supporting.
Yeah, I know Jillian in the chat is saying it's sad in 2023 it's still happening. I agree. I think, you know, I always like to tell people as much as we try to act like, you know, discriminatory comments of any kind, whether it be homophobic, racist, sexist, whatever it is, don't exist. They still do. And this article, when it came out and FIFA posted these numbers, it made me very sad that these are athletes. These are just people at the end of the day. More important, like sports aside, they're somebody's daughter, sister, aunt, mom, whatever, just out there doing what they love, and they're getting completely torn apart and just disrespected just because. So moral of the story again is, either stay off of social media altogether, and if you're on social media, please.
Everything comes back to just don't go on, don't look at social media,
nice.
Don't go on, don't read your DMs, don't log on to Instagram.
Just be nice.
And the minute Philly gets an NWSL, WNBA team, we're going to be the first ones here covering and talk about it here. So.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, as we wrap up, it is the holiday season. You know, we're days away from Christmas. Ken, I don't know what you celebrate. Actually, I don't like to make assumptions. Okay, what's in your household? Where are you guys on holidays right now? What are you blasting? What's the decorations?
I'm always blasting heavy metal whenever I can, no matter what the season is.
That's why Zully loves you.
But no, we're a Christmas family. But I would say that whether you are religious or not, the secular elements of Christmas are very positive. We're buying things, we're doing things for other people, we're making time for people who are not ourselves. So that's my feel good moral. Sharing on that topic, So
there you go.
I like that.
Nick Sirianni, aka Santa.
Drunk Sirianni.
Drunk Sirianni. Yeah. And then a Festivus for the rest of us.
Well, we are just 11 days away from Christmas. So on our show, we will be doing some exciting things as we near the holidays. We also have a fun thing coming up on Tuesday. We'll be at Reading Terminal Market. Yeah. So for you guys that want to come out and join us for some fun in person, we will be live from Reading Terminal Market with all of our PHOY shows, minus this one because soccer just didn't fit in the bill, apparently. But anyways, you can come out and meet the team Tuesday. We'll be there starting as early as 10 in the morning. I know Eugene Krabs is specifically asking for JP. He loves you, JP.
And I love you too, Eugene.
I have just crash it. You guys should go rogue and just do your setup. Like, don't tell them that you're doing it and just be like, oh yeah, here we are.
I actually think the reasoning, and I don't know this, Julie is actually ironically the person that would know it more than me. I think it just came down to time because we already have like hours that we're going to be there and we just maybe couldn't fit another hour. I don't know.
So you just set up a studio on the side and say, hey, there's been a late addition to the schedule.
For sure. For sure. We'll have the food there. We'll have lots to talk about. And we may even have an impromptu union show. Who knows? We're just going to crash the other shows. But I know Jamie and I will be kicking off the Philly show first thing in the morning, and then we'll be rolling through with our Sixers, Eagles, and Flyer shows as well, and maybe a pop-up union show. You never know. But be sure to give us a follow to keep up to date with all those details. And I want to give a special thank you to our guest, Kevin, for working through traffic, getting into the city, dodging around the school buses and everything.
I hate being late. I feel like such a dope showing up late, but I thanks for having me. It was great to come down and check it out and everything. And I'm always willing to come support a new union show. It's anybody who's doing union content, soccer content in Philly, I'm all about it.
Amen.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys.
I love that. Well, thank you again for taking time to even be here in person with us. I'm seeing some Yamamoto stuff, and I'm going to go check it out because you guys get me excited. You get me a little pumped up here. If it is true that he's meeting with, if John Clark's reports are real, Jose is saying, I know a couple other people. So we'll check in on that. But yes, Kevin, we're going to have you back here on the show at some point for sure. Hopefully we're talking about more positive times around the union.
Hopefully we'll talk about a big money signing or a trophy that they're lifting up or something like that. We're thinking positive thoughts.
Fingers crossed. Positive thoughts as we are in the holiday season, and all we want for Christmas is some positive thoughts for the union that we can talk about. So with that being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. For Julia, JP, our special guest, Kevin, and myself, Renee, thanks for tuning in to PHOI Union Podcast. We will see you guys on Nope. That was just habit. It was a trick. We won't see you on Tuesday. We'll actually see you on Monday. We'll be doing a live show instead. So we're going to be bumping our Tuesday show to Monday where you guys can tune in live and we can continue this conversation then. So have a great weekend. We'll see you guys back here on Monday for more PHOI Union Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.